So baby, guess what?
What?
We've got an opportunity to upgrade Go Man Go. Remember that vacation I promised you? Well, we're going to put that off.
Oh, great.
Welcome back to Speedy's Garage, everybody. We're obviously back at the shop with Go Man Go. Okay, so let's recap. The goal all along has been to run a 10.0 in just about any weather. And we went out, we've got the Hellraiser 272 pulley on the car, ID 1000 injectors, some tuning, drive shaft, shop drive shaft, and we used the Mickey Thompson ET Street R in a 305 45 17, which worked phenomenally, as well as the Race Star 18 by 4.5s with the Race Master skinnies on the front. The race weight of the car is right around, I think it was 4385 with me in the car, and I weigh about 185 pounds. So call it car weight's 4,200. So that's where we were at. We took the car to the track on 93 octane. We ran it 2 weeks ago, and we were running 10-1s. We ran, I think, a 10-1, a 10-2, a 10-1, another 10-2 maybe. We ran 4 passes on 93 octane. Everything was fine. Data logs looked nice and clean. We went back with the Mickey Thompson ET Street R's. That was the only change we made. Ran the same tune, the same everything. And we were able to cut some really good 60 foots, 147, 146, 60 foots with the Mickey Thompson tires. The first pass, and I kind of babied it out of the hole, ran a 10.03 at about 131 miles an hour. Now, when it got to the big end, when it shifted into fifth, I felt it dialed power back a little bit, or that would have been a 9-second pass. I'm very confident that would have been it, and we're done. We'd have put race gas in the car and moved on. But it ran a 10.03. I checked the data log, and I'll show you this in a little while. Something strange happened right when it shifted into fifth. And hindsight being 20/20 always, I should have stopped right there and figured out what was going on, but I was next to a drag car, and it's going down the track. The exhaust on that drag car is roaring. I was right on his passenger side fender. I was in the right lane, he was in the left. I thought maybe the drag car had set the knock sensors off. That's what we saw. We saw no short-term knock until it shifted into fifth, and then it spiked for some reason and basically stayed pretty flat. So very odd, never seen that before, and I've been running this tune for a while on the street. We've done a bunch of pulls on the street, no problems at all. On this particular day, something weird had happened. Had a couple of conversations with Mike at OST. We went through a whole bunch of stuff for about a half hour. Only thing we could determine is that maybe the race car next to me had set the knock sensors off. That's the only thing I could think. I made a second pass. First one was a 10.03, remember? Ran a 10.04. Like right there. This time the mile per hour was up back where I thought it should be. It was back up to around 135, like 134 and change. So okay, motor's good. You know, there can't be anything wrong with the engine because it's running so consistently. 10.03, 10.04. Mile per hour is up, so it's making more power. 60 foots, we're looking good, 146 or something like that. Check the data log, same problem. Some kind of weird thing right when it shifts into fifth gear. I'm like, man, what is going on? Had another conversation with Mike, and he kind of told me, he's like, look, it's up to you at this point. I would probably call it a day. But it taking that much timing out is taking you down to 0 degrees. And he said, that's really bad on a motor. He goes, you really don't want it to go below 8 or 7. So you can go into your tune and you can set your minimum spark just in that area where it's occurring to be 8 degrees. He goes, that's the max timing it'll have. That won't hurt anything, you know, in his experience. And he said, and it's better to do that than let the car go to 0 degrees of timing and hurt the motor if you're going to try to make another pass. But he said, it's your car. You know, you probably want to call it quits at this point. But I'm thinking I only need like 400ths, literally 400ths of a second to have a 9-second pass to put in my trophy case, and I'm moving on and going to race gas or something else. So I thought about it, and I'm like, you know, I'm gonna make one more pass, and I'm gonna up the launch RPM just a little bit. Having that timing locked at 8 degrees would probably give me that power I needed to get through the end of the stripe. And it was only happening, the problem was only happening when the car shifted into fifth gear. And you're only in fifth for, it's not hardly any time, maybe a second or two. And so I made the decision on my own to go ahead and lock that timing, went back out, made another pass, and it ran a 10.05. A 10.05 at 133, 134 miles an hour. Reviewed the data log. Again, it tried to pull the timing out for some reason, but because I had it locked at 8 degrees, it stayed at 8 degrees. Okay, fine and good, didn't get my time. So I gave up, and I was like, okay, but I needed some data. And so what I did is I went back and loaded up a previous tune that was I think the tune I was running when we had the issue had 11 degrees. That's it. I mean, that's such a small amount of timing in a car like this. From the factory, they're like 16 or 18 in the same place. So 11 degrees of timing, and that was at the very top of the RPM range. So as the RPMs go up, you get 5 degrees, you get 6 degrees, you get 7 degrees, you get 8 degrees, 9, 10, 11. It finally peaked at 11 degrees. So I went back to a previous tune that I think peaked at 10 degrees. So it was a 1 degree timing difference at peak, and maybe 9.5, and wanted to get a data log on that tune to see if we still had that same weird problem. So here I go, line up, I launch, first gear's good, second gear's good. I didn't even film it because it was at the end of the day, the staging lanes were practically closed. I think there were 6 cars left on the track or at the track at all. I didn't expect anything spectacular to even happen. So I had put all the cameras up and I was literally making one more run just to get a data log to compare. Shifts into second, I hear boom, clank, clank, clank. Look in the rearview mirror, I see smoke. So now I'm like, something's happened, or I'm sorry, excuse my French. Oh crap, something's happened. So I quickly ease over to the left, I was in the left lane. I ease over, get off the racing line so I don't get any oil on the track if there's a catastrophic failure of some sort. Stop the car, hit the button to try to shut it down. I hear the gentleman come over the PA and say, man, there's a lot of smoke. I hope that car's not on fire. When I hear that, I jumped out of the car like I was 17 years old over the concrete wall, and I turn around and look back at the car and it's kind of smoking. And here comes, within, I would say 20 or 30 seconds, the emergency services were there, the track officials were there with fire extinguishers. They had fire truck and everything come down. And they said, is it on fire? I said, I don't think so, but I don't know for sure. And I said, I'm gonna pop the hood and we're gonna look. So what you have to be careful of when you have something like this happen, a lot of people, immediately pop the hood. When you raise the hood up, all that oxygen flows underneath the hood and you've just set the thing on fire. So I told them to get on each side of the car. I'm gonna crack the hood and we're gonna look. So I pop the lever, we look, we just see kind of some smoke, raise the hood, the smoke clears. You can smell some oil, so we knew something had happened, but as you can see, up here everything looks just fine. Once the smoke cleared, looks like you can see the car, looks normal, no problems at all. We towed it back, the flatbed from the track. The track was very, very good, by the way. Beach Bend, awesome job. They came with a flatbed tow truck. They had like a box thing that kind of hooked up to the rear wheels. I sat in the driver's seat and steered the car. And by the way, there's a lever. If you pull out the little tray next to the shifter on an automatic, there's a little red tab you pull up and that'll unlock the transmission. And that allowed them to kind of pull me back around and had it basically in neutral. And even though it was just the front tires, we still unlocked it. We get it back over to the pits to allow Greg and I to get it up on the trailer. And so now I'm gonna go ahead and put the street tires back on it because obviously we're gonna have to go and make a repair. It's gonna require facilities that I don't have here. I definitely don't have time to do this myself, and I don't have the lift, and even if I did, it'd be by myself. I'm gonna need some help with this one. So I'm gonna do some research, and I'm probably gonna take you guys along with me so that you can see when something like this does happen. You gotta remember, it's just bolts and screws. This isn't a video about me crying about it. We're gonna get it taken care of. We're gonna get it fixed up. I'm gonna start with getting these wheels swapped out so we can get the car moved around, see what we need to do. And then I'm gonna try to take a look underneath it. I'm gonna pull the splash shield and I'll take you guys with me and find out exactly what we can see from underneath the car and find out if in fact my suspicions are true and we need a new engine. Okay, I started by pulling the dipstick. I was curious as to what, if anything, I could glean from what the dipstick would show. Excuse me, and surprisingly, there was no oil in the dipstick at all. Now, it did leak a lot of oil, so we know we've got a catastrophic failure somewhere, but I expected to see some oil in the dipstick because if the block had broken or we'd had something come out of the block, you would think it would happen up higher than the oil pan. There'd still be some oil in the pan, but it was bone dry. So I went ahead and I got the car up on a race ramp. I've got a couple of jacks. I used the back jack to get it to where I can put the heavy duty jack underneath the frame rail. And then I've got the race ramp as a safety. And I've gone ahead and I've dropped the little splash shield on the front. I'm gonna show you what I found. Okay, we're now into the car, obviously. I dropped a little oil, or splash shield, I should say. There's the first thing we found, a piece of the oil pan. So I was real careful when I lowered the splash shield down because I wasn't sure what was going to be underneath. and I found a piece of the oil pan. So there you go. I've got a defective oil pan. We're just gonna swap that out. We should be good to go. No, I'm kidding. Actually, that's a hole in the oil pan. You can see it right back there. So something got very unhappy in the motor. Parts came apart inside the engine there. So we've got a catastrophic failure of the motor. So now we got to figure out what we're going to do next. And so I may not seem super upset about the failure, and honestly, you just can't be. I've been racing or drag racing about 10 years, and at some point you're going to have a failure of something if you race that long, and knock on wood, this has been the first one I've ever had. I broke an axle one time years ago. Other than that, I've been pretty lucky. And so I'm going to use this opportunity to hopefully do an upgrade, and you just can't be upset about it. Set aside a few dollars if you're going to be racing, especially if you're going to modify your car. Just set aside a few dollars each year for a budget that you're going to use as your racing budget, and include some parts breakage as part of that. That's what I do. I haven't had to spend that much money on this car in the past 3 years that I've owned it, and so I've got a little bit of a cushion there, and that's what we're going to use to get it repaired. So that's going to be it for today. I was really curious what the actual problem had been. Obviously, we had a catastrophic engine failure. The car was very consistent. It ran a 1003, a 1004, and a 1005, and then it failed. So I was running 93 octane, but I data logged every single pass I had made. We were recording the exhaust and watching for any detonation. We weren't seeing that in the film. I did run the car on the dyno. We checked all of that out. And actually, the tune I was running when the engine failed had less timing in it. We took out 1 degree based on data logs from the previous weekend's track time. So it was a less aggressive tune. It was 11 degrees max timing, so that's very, very low, but something was unhappy in the motor. Okay, folks, we're gonna call it right there this week. There's plenty more content to come on the engine failure. We're gonna find out exactly what failed and why. The 2 things I will tell you that I do know at this point is that it was not the tune and it was not the 93 octane fuel. So stick around to see not only what the actual failure was, but also what new motor we go with for Go Man Go. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Check us out on Instagram. It's @Speedies_garage, as well as our website, www.speediesgarage.net. And hopefully I will see you out there.